hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonics Money Transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.
fu muy fanaan ak kuy wut ku ko wétali xanaa delloo buntu gi war la naa boole Yaa Faatu's Guest House tijjil na leen buntu bi ñu ngi leen fa am ak ñaari cabinet salle yu yaaña
amal leen li nga xamante ne mooy cabinet ak salle ñu ngi leen amal AC ak fan
salle bi nag lépp li ngeen soxla am na fa sofa yu nooy ñoo fa nekk TV bang fa cabinet boo dugga lal yu nooy leen fa amal nañ leen fa AC ak li nga xam ne moom mooy fan toilette yu set wicc amal nañ leen fa kitchen microwave fridge and room bu baax dama ne teranga day mut moo taxit Yaa Faatu's Guest House amal leen extra kitchen lépp lu ngeen bëgg a togg mun ngeen ko toggee si gas cooker bii nii
kuy xalam di si jaayu nag barke bi yaay borom amal ne li nga xamante ne mooy ndox ak courant 24/7 bu leen tiit bu leen ragal bu leen xoof ndax amal ne lii di CCTV caméra
seet si leen ñu si Farafenni gannaaw garage base bi Kawur highway
very clean every day am na cleaning service ratio bi amul fenn
Yaa Faatu's Guest House teranga àdduna bët kon nag seet si leen ñu
Gambian Talents TV root lewenal leen wade defoon nañ ko daaw dañuy baaxental Content special ak Gambian Talents TV dunduro ben waaye bokkuñu façon Gambian Talents rek du doy de des
This very important code. Now, the previous version contains only 3 sections, if you could recall: general principles, children's reporting guidelines, and the gender-based reporting guidelines. But now with this updated version, of course, we have expanded it to the benefit of we members of the press. In essence, the code provides guidelines for the conduct of journalists, from information gathering to dissemination or transmission in all types of news and information media, be it print, radio, TV, and online. So you can see it's a diverse document, and it will help us, guide us to do our work in a much efficient manner. Now, the Gambia Press Union accepts that may not cover every area, that this document may not cover every area of need or satisfactorily articulate issues, because we all know that nothing is perfect, and as a matter of fact, this document may also not be perfect. That's exactly what we mean by what we just read. Now, for us, this code is the last word on matters to which it refers. Meanwhile, members of the public who are dissatisfied with the work of journalists or feel that these ethics have been violated by a particular journalist should seek redress at the appropriate quarters, namely the Media Council of the Gambia. We have always advocated, we have always ensured that the rights of journalists are protected. We fight for the rights of our members. But we also know that our members can sometimes mistakenly or otherwise, break the rules and regulations of the work that they are doing. And in that case, what we're saying here is any complaint against any violation of this ethics can be forwarded to the Media Council of the Gambia, which is housed in this building, the offices upstairs. Now, this will be crucial in promoting media professionalism and providing accessible and credible dispute resolution platforms for people who would ordinarily incite or perpetuate violence as a means to respond to the excess of the journalists, as I mentioned earlier. So I wish to finally say that with this code, the Gambia Press Union seeks to promote utmost professionalism in the media for the interest of the profession and the benefit of society. And on that note, I hereby declare that this code, of course, the Cherno Jallow Charter of Ethics for Journalists, be launched. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cherno Jallow. We would like to hear from you as well.
I think I should. I am indeed honored for the press, the Gambian press, to name the Charter of Ethics after me. It's one of the high points in my life, in my career, in my profession. So to you, first, the Gambia Press Union, and through the Gambia Press Union to the rest of the journalism fraternity, I want to express profound gratitude from myself and my family for the honor bestowed on me by you. I want to say this. In fact, 6 months ago, I stepped down from even lecturing as head of department of journalism and a lecturer. Not because of anything, but I think it's time for me to step down and do something else. I have been trying to write 4 books for the last 3 years. But because of time constraint, I am unable to accomplish even one of them. This is the time for me, at least, to focus on Fangsito, not Tesito. I spent 34 years in the Gambia government, working for Information and Broadcasting Services. I spent 4 years as Administrator and Secretary General of the Gambia Press Union. I spent 2 years as the head of UNESCO Media Training Center. I spent 12 years at Insight Training Center as head of Department of Journalism and lecturer. I think to be fair to myself and my family, I should step down. It's a pleasure whenever I travel to see my students. That alone is my compensation. Money alone cannot do it. When I go to the UK, Gambia Press Union UK, I see my students. If I travel to the USA, GP USA, I find my students. That alone is compensation enough for me. It's not money always that will facilitate things. No, money is important, but we have to put money in its proper context. You have done me proud. And I can always say, though I have stepped down in lecturing, I'm still part of you. I'm always available to you. As I said, you are my family, my media family. You are as important to me as my own blood family. I realize that now. I left the Gambia government 34 years ago, or 26 years ago. But still, the Gambia Press Union and you people are still encouraging me to come forward, to participate, to get involved. That alone is compensation enough. Let me tell you, one medicine against aging is to challenge the mind and the body. To challenge the mind and the body. I go to the classroom, I meet young girls, young boys, and we talked, we discussed, I lecture. That challenges my mind. Physically, I go to the school and back. I remain young. Aging is just mindset. If you want to grow old, you will grow old. As long as you challenge the mind, mens sana in corpore sano. If the mind is healthy, the body is healthy. I'm also glad that as journalists, we are perpetual students. We are perpetual students. We are always interested in what's going on around us. From the cradle to the grave, they say, man learns. So we are a learning institution. But the journalist is one step ahead. Ours is to empower the people by informing and educating the people. And to inform and educate the people, we ourselves must be well informed and well educated. Not necessarily university education, but if you want to present any subject on any topic, you yourself, you have to educate yourself on that issue before you can present it to the public. That's why you have to be well educated and well informed. Now, coming to ethics, I have been talking about ethics for a long time. Not because of anything, but ethics represent our value systems. What happens is, any institution that loses its values will die a natural death. And what are these values? These are human values. You put people first, not material first. That's the reason behind the death of communism. In the end, communism put material first and not people first. Today, in our capitalist system, we put profit first before people. And that way we lose the spirit of our vision and our mission. And that means, that spells the death of any institution or organization. Therefore, ethical values represent our value system that has been transmitted from generation to generation. All professional institutions have a code of conduct, which is already, that's the ethical values of that institution. In the medical field, they have the Hippocratic Oath. Even in the legal system, they have their code of conduct and practice. And they have even their punishment if you infringe the values of those ethics and code of ethics and practice. So for us to be respected by the citizens, by the public, because there is public concern, not necessarily because we are journalists, but by our practice of the profession. By our practice of the professions. Are we professional? In our presentation of the news, how do we present the news? You have to remember always that we as journalists, we are just presenting information. But we fail to realize that out there as citizens, we have people who are more educated than us. UTG, we have now, I don't know whether you realize it or not, we have 7 universities. All the lecturers in all those institutions are more educated than some of us. All our tertiary institutions, even MRC, they have doctors and all these things. They all read what we present, either in print or in broadcast. People listening to us. All segments of society listening to us. And they judge us. My wife was a headmistress. And she used to lecture French. Every day when we view television, she edits it. I'm always uncomfortable. When she starts criticizing presenters, they are English, they are French, and all these things, I become defensive. Because you are my fraternity. That's the same thing. Remember the press, remember the public is the judge. They are the viewers, they are the readers, they are the judge of your product. And they will pass judgment on you. What's happened? Today, yes, we have got a vibrant press, a professional press. But also you have challenges. One of the challenges is we are now a global village. Every Gambian, from the moment he rises from bed to the moment he goes to bed, he's bombarded by a million bits of information, be it social media, the internet, TV, CNN, BBC, all over, screaming for his attention. You ride your car, billboards are screaming at you for your attention. So, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues, the people of the Gambia today are citizens of a global village. For that reason, they are global citizens, and they have a choice. If your publication, if your output is substandard, people will switch off and listen to BBC and CNN. In my class, journalism class, because I was so annoyed, whenever I come to the classroom, I always ask the question, what was yesterday have you watched the television? Did you hear that news? Mr. Jallo, we are not interested in Gambian TV. Gambians themselves, they condemn us for substandard information. They would rather go to BBC for information about the Gambia. It's a tragedy. For that reason, you have to understand that you have to climb up the highest. What you give should be standard information. And remember one thing, information without source is a source of trouble. Today we have so-called fake news, simply because there is no verified source. Anybody can play, havoc on the social media. I'm glad that today even Senegal and other countries are now so concerned about social media. What's happening? Okay, I am part of the ECOWAS Media Monitoring High Council. And the target today from ECOWAS is the problem posed by social media, the misinformation and disinformation, even about COVID-19. Listen to it. Listen to Senegal. The Grand Marabouts are doing more havoc than anybody else. That you read some passages of the Quran, that it can protect you from COVID-19. We have seen it, we have heard it. And they're using the media platform. This is what we are saying. That's why the code is important. The code of ethics. To show you that the human value is more important than any other things. If we lose it, we are left with what we call just the artificial processing of information. That's it to the people. And the people also will look at it in a disinterested fashion. Let me tell you one problem. As human beings, at least, there is deep down in us, which is spiritual. Whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Christian, you have within you a value system that will tell you that, no, I cannot accept this. This is too much. We have seen it. And we have seen what happened to the Gambia. within that 22 years of dictatorship. And we have seen also where the media failed. And one day we hope the Gambia government, the Gambia Press Union will sit back and see and evaluate what happened to the media within these 22 years. I went to Mali, the Media High Council, and we were looking at where the media failed in Sierra Leone and Liberia during their crisis. If they fail for want of maybe their weaknesses, tribalism, religious differences, regionalism, and many other factors came to play and diverted our professionalism, it means only one thing. Their ethical values were weak. So much so that there were fault lines along tribalism, along religious divide. So when the problem came and imposed on them, this religious divide, this regional divide came into the fore and dominated the whole idea. Therefore, ethics are very important. Ethics is between you and your conscience. It is between you and society. And it is societal values. The word ethics comes ethikos. It means just tradition and customs. And it should come from our tradition and our customs. And it means in our tradition and custom, what is deemed acceptable. What is deemed acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for I could have gone, no. Thank God. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Very much. We really appreciate you, and here at the union, you know our love for you.
Thank you very much.
We're happy to introduce you to the younger generation who do not know much about you.
Okay.
Know where you stand with ethics so that they can take up that hard work as well, so that our profession will not be ridiculed in our society.
Correct.
Now we will let our President Sharif give us the statement on this day.
Colleagues, brothers and sisters, first on behalf of the Gambia Press Union, I would like to take this opportunity to wish all of you a happy and fulfilling World Press Freedom Day. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the Windhoek Declaration, which was declared in Namibia and was developed by the African journalists pressing for a free, independent, and pluralistic African press. The declaration ultimately gave birth to the commemoration of the World Press Freedom Day back then in 1991. From then, every year, 3rd May is a date which celebrates the fundamental principles of press freedom, to evaluate press freedom around the world, to defend the media from attacks on their independence, and to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives in the exercise of their profession and their duties. The theme adopted by UNESCO for this year's event is information as a public good. However, in the Gambia Press Union has chosen a local theme, which is safety of journalists is imperative for credibility of elections. This theme is chosen given the reality of the media environment in the country and for the fact that, as we all know, December this year will be crucial as we go to the polls. This year's World Press Freedom Day commemoration coincided with the release of the World Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders or Reporters Sans Frontières. The Gambia, as some of you might know, is ranked 85th out of 180 countries, indicating a modest progress of 2 points from the 87th position last year. Indeed, the space for media freedom and freedom of expression has expanded since the downfall of dictatorship and since the ascendancy to power of President Adama Barrow. Also, some things to celebrate and to be proud of. There are more media houses in the country now than ever before, and this means more people have access to the media to express their views and opinions. This diversity and plurality of opinions in the media counts in favor of the country, so this is something that we, all of us, can hail and can be proud of in comparison to what we had in the past. And for the first time since the country's independence in 1965, the government granted a subsidy to the media to help them through financial and operational difficulties resulting from the coronavirus pandemic, and this is the COVID funds. However, beneath the ranking lies facts that reveal that the media situation in the country is only better than the dark days of the dictatorship. So in a nutshell, we are not out of the woods yet. With a score of 30.76 points in the RSF measurement or ranking, the media landscape in the Gambia is still problematic. So improvement in the ranking does not necessarily mean that we are out of the woods and the media environment in the country is ideal. One of the reasons the Gambia is still stuck in this situation is because of the unfriendly environment and particularly legislations against the media. These are obnoxious and media repressive laws. The long-awaiting major reforms of the repressive media laws in the Gambia continue to drag 4 years on. The Media Law Review Committee's final report submitted to the Ministry of Information and Communications in May 2018 recommended for the review and amendment of the following legislations. 1, Information and Communications Act of 2009. 2, Criminal Code of 1933. 3, Indemnity Act of 2001. 4, GRTS Act of 2004. 5, Telegraph Stations Act of 1999. 6, Official Secret Act of 1922. And 7, Newspaper and Broadcasting Stations Act of 1944. Ladies and gentlemen, all these laws are recommended for review because they have problematic and disturbing provisions that are not in line with international norms, standards, and democracy. 4 years on, none of these laws have been successfully amended. A number of bills seeking to repeal of the laws have been in Parliament, gathering dust, while no concrete steps have been taken by the government towards repealing or amending the rest of the free press laws. The bill on access to information, ATI, is still at the National Assembly 1 year on. We are hopeful, we've been hopeful, that this bill will be passed and will eventually become law, but as we now realize, the success of it cannot be based entirely on just hope. So there is uneasy hope and uneasy optimism. But the problematic media situation pointed at in the RSF index is not just about the laws, but also the practices. Lest we forget, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, just last year, the government arbitrarily and illegally closed down 2 radio stations, King FM and Home Digital FM, for a whole month. As if the closure was not bad enough, the managers and 2 reporters of these stations were also arrested and detained for no legally justified reason. As we've said then and we're going to say now, the procedure and the processes were not followed in both the closures of these radio stations and the arrests and detention of the staff. And the recent political rhetoric from the State House about the media is so disturbing. The president's accusation of journalists of biased and unfavorable coverage is a stark reminder of the Jammeh government gradually started, or how Jammeh government gradually started its onslaught against the media. Now, as journalists, as men and women who hold authorities to account, We are not beyond accountability, and we are not asking people not to criticize us when we go wrong. But our problem is if political spaces, political rallies and platforms are going to be used by the highest seat of this land to accuse the media of something that is not factual, to turn the people against the media, to make the media look as enemies of the government, of the state, and of progress. This is disturbing. And when it is disturbing, we have to shout out, we have to talk about it. Our records show that in less than 4 years, more than 15 incidents of physical assault on journalists and media professionals occurred. And all the attacks were perpetrated either by the police or politicians, including supporters of the president, of course. No serious investigation has been carried out. No one brought to book. The climate of impunity for crimes against journalists persists. Therefore, as the country goes into the first post-dictatorship presidential election in December, the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity remain a concern for the Gambia Press Union and for the media fraternity, hence the local theme, safety of journalists, imperative for credible elections. As part of efforts to tackle this unfortunate trend, the GPU has developed and submitted a position paper to the government through the Minister of Information. The union has made a case based on evidence and insights for the government to provide proactive and reactive mechanisms towards safeguarding the safety of journalists and combat impunity for crimes against journalists in line with the UNESCO Plan of Action. Also, the GPU is working with partners to roll out safety training programs for journalists and dialogues with politicians and security personnel. Series of trainings have been outlined ahead of the election. These trainings will include first aid training for reporters, safety training, and election reporting. Media security dialogue and training of security officers on safety of journalists is also coming up. We will have an interface with political party leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and information kits on safety of journalists will also be produced. However, while these things are being rolled out, we hereby encourage journalists to get themselves the safety jackets and press cards at the GPU, which are available, have been available for almost a year now, in order to reduce the risk of incidents of so-called mistaken identity. We have to be honest to ourselves. There is no foolproof coat that any journalist can wear to 100% protect you from safety. But what we can do is to minimize the risks, personal risks of being harmed. And wearing your jacket and having your press card or your badge are two of the mechanisms that can minimize the risk of, so we don't have an issue of somebody saying it's mistaken identity, we didn't know that they were journalists and things like that. So the jackets are still here. As you all know, the GPU is subventing. Above all, we would like to remind journalists of the creed. To all of you, I say, no story is worth your life. Sharpen your sense of security in order not to fall easy prey to violent attacks. We wish to remind the government that it is the responsibility of the state to guarantee journalists safety and combat impunity and enable the media to carry out its work independently and without interference. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, in commemoration of this year's World Press Freedom Day, we wish to pay tribute to the fallen heroes of the Gambian media. These are those who sacrificed their lives and their livelihoods for the freedom and development of Gambian media in particular, and an inclusive and democratic Gambia based on respect for human rights and dignity. As I end this statement, I want to call on all of you, all of us, to take a 60-second silence in remembrance and in commemoration and respect for all the men and women who either lost their lives or live in pain. A lot of us, as we know, our brothers and sisters, who for the rest of their lives will always have stark reminder of what was it like to live and working in the dictatorship. A lot of our friends who still go around with bayonet marks all over their bodies. Some had electricity put on their genitals. A lot of people are orphaned today. So can we all take a 60-second silence in respect and remembrance of those who lost their lives, and also to salute our colleagues and our brothers and sisters who succumbed to dictatorship as a result of their work and their belief in their work. Thank you very much. 1 minute silence. Thank you very much.
I'll take questions. I'll try and pass around the statement so everybody can have a copy. If you have any questions to ask, do so now. Lamin and Shirif will answer all your questions.
If a victim is attacked, if one of us is attacked, the GPU will react. The GPU is going to issue a statement. The GPU is going to ask the police to investigate. But where it reaches a stage where it should go to court, the GPU cannot take the lead to go to court when the victim himself or herself is not ready for that court action to proceed. That is my point.
Yeah. So quickly I'll add to that. I think in the reference that was made, no name, I'm not going to call names or anything, but I think there were a few instances in which one of the instances, multiple journalists were harmed at the same time. But then what we were told, and when we wanted to engage, to take this matter forward, the stories changed. I remember one of the victims told me, downplay the incident. And then, of course, it was very difficult to get this particular victim to even go to police, to go with us to police. Because at the end of the day, when you get to the police station, the person who is attacked is the one who's going to write statement. Yeah, Yankuba? That's it? I don't think, because the case of iAfrica, when we went to the police, the first day we went without the journalist that was attacked. And then we were told that the journalist should be there. So we had to get the journalist to do the statement, but we were there with him. But then if you have an incident in which, for example, a presidential spokesperson or government spokesperson will say the president is going to compensate them, because of that, probably people want to not do anything. So if you are reluctant, it will be very difficult, almost impossible for the GPU to do anything, because even at the first port of call, police, you're the one who is supposed to write your statement. GPU can come in probably as witness statement, but your statement as a victim will be written or will be made by you and not by anybody else. So that's why when it happens, we need the collaboration of everybody. If you are a victim, we need you to know that GPU will be there for you, will stand by you, and that you should be ready to seek justice, and we will all be ready to seek justice. But if we want to seek justice for you as a union, but you don't want to do anything about it, you don't even want to press charges, then this will be a problem. I don't know if it can kill the case, but it will be a problem. But now we're going to rely on the legal people that we hire, that we're going to hire, and that we will pay to take up our cases.
Yeah, that's the context.
Yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
You just when the effect is provided, because we know that our media houses cannot provide all those protective tiers. Because in election report, most of us we experience when it comes to throwing of stones. especially these angry militants. So it's just a suggestion, if possible, the GPU can just look on that. Yeah.
Thank you. I've taken note of that, what this has said. Yeah.
Probably I would want to really to take, or hoping to take.
Or the contents?
Yes.
Of okay.
Of the way we report, the way we present.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna have to be honest here, and I think this is very important question that we all have to, because it's not just the journalists, it's everybody every single day somebody mispronounced something in the radio or TV, they call me, what are you doing about it? So ladies and gentlemen, we be loud and clear, GPU is not the employer of anybody. GPU, what we can do is to the trainings to build the capacity of journalists. But for example, if you work for, I don't want to even give example, it can be, be mistaken for something. If you work for Jahate Press and then you write bad English and stuff, it is the responsibility of the owners, the managers, your editors, to fix that. It is not GPU's. What we can do, you can only force a horse to go to the river, and then that's what we will do. But what we can do, it hurts me. I think it pains all of us, because there are so many. For me, I don't know, maybe I'm going to be different from everybody. People have so much negative vibes when it comes to Gambian journalists and journalism. Oh, they are this, they are that, they don't have competence. I am a believer in Gambian, this crop of Gambian journalists. I'm a believer in all of you. I think in a country where, where we came from, it will take time. Every institution in this country has been going through reforms, change. From a terrible situation, some we've seen that gradually they get in there. No institution, no single institution in this country suffered the way the media fraternity suffered under dictatorship. So of course, most of you here, I guess you've not been practicing for 10 years. You only came to journalism probably 2 years before Jammeh left. So it's still new. It will take time. But what we do is that, because if one journalist go to a press conference and ask terrible question, they don't say this journalist. They say Gambian journalist. Nobody is good anymore. It comes to all of us. It is our obligation morally to help each other. Competition is there. You're all representing different media outlets. But if we can help each other to grow, that will be welcome. We can do that. But then what we do individually is our responsibility. If you want to become a good journalist, you want to ask good questions, you want to produce good materials and write good articles, it is not the role of GPU to do that. If you falter, you write terrible grammar or something, your editors are there. At the end of the day, we are not your employers. We cannot interfere with what you do. We can keep on training, but these trainings do not automatically prepare you to become a good journalist. What is there is left to you. We are saddened by some of the things that happen, but for me, on this World Press Freedom Day, I want to put emphasis on the fact that Gambia, I travel all over. That's my life, traveling around. Gambian journalists, you go to some of these countries, and I'm not afraid to say it, you go to Senegal, they have more opportunity than us. Senegal, every corner. We have shops here selling bread and mint and stuff. Every corner is a journalism institution. I don't even remember, I don't know all of them. They have opportunity to go to school. They know the law, they know the rules, but then you read Senegalese papers, the mistakes and blunders and errors and misrepresentations there. Gambia is the only country where a journalist got an information, because he or she is so scared that he will make, it might not be correct, he keeps the information until it becomes stale, because we are we are so concerned about not to make mistakes. People, when we say there has to be distinction between journalists, us here, and people sitting in their rooms and parlors and running their things on Facebook. Gambia News, Gambia this. Sometimes you don't even know who own them. They are not journalists. If they make mistakes, they are just individuals. Gambia Press Union cannot stop them. Nobody in the world can stop them, because that means limiting or stopping them from using Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Our concern is all of you working for institutions that we recognize, gathering, treating, and disseminating your information and eking out a living from that. I personally, in my own capacity, I want to celebrate you. Though we have challenges, though there is still room for improvement, your efforts, I'm a believer in it. And I think we can only grow from strength to strength. We can improve ourselves, but that will not happen unless we read, unless we find out stuff, unless we get prepared, and above all, unless we are sincere and honest to ourselves.
Yes, just
very quickly.
Yes, quickly. So that is very important, because that is where intervention with the ethics. I do contact some editors to bring it to their attention. Some might not even know. But when it comes to the language and the grammar mistakes, the reporters, I used to be a very confident reporter, to the point that sometimes I will need to even give my story to the editor if he or she is, doing injustice to the story. But when a reporter is accepting freebies or junkets for his story, his or her story to be influenced, in that case we might not even know, and it's going to affect the issue. So there is your own judgment. Should you accept freebies? Should you accept junkets? Should you accept gifts that is going to influence your story? That is up to us as the individual reporters and editors. So that is
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
I can do Q&A. Oh,
yeah.
no.
If you want to receive monies from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonics Money Transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonics Money Transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.